Hello and welcome to Getting Your Money's Worth, the show that focuses on value. I'm Judith West, and our guest today is Ron Tabano, founder and principal of Wildcat Academy School. Hi, Ron. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks
I can't say nice to meet me since I've met you already. So let's get right to it. A charter school is a public school funded publicly, but operates outside of the system.
Mm-hmm. Well, outside of the Department of Ed.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you're pretty autonomous.
Yes.
Okay.
That's one of the features of a charter school is the autonomy that you have.
But you are publicly funded, but you get less money.
But we get less money. Charter schools, in general, get less money than regular public schools.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. And in fact, that's why we're going to make a case for getting your money's worth here.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, but you didn't accidentally choose Wildcat, the name Wildcat, did you? What does Wildcat mean?
Wildcat comes from wildcatters, and wildcatters were people who drilled for oil where people previously failed. Our school has been founded for students who have previously failed, were not successful, and that's where the Wildcat name comes from.
It's almost like you're lucky you hit a gusher that nobody else could find.
Exactly.
And you kind of do that with your students, don't you?
We do really well.
Okay, so you're unique. You have a very unique population. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
All our students have come from some other school. Our students were an in-school truant or a dropout, may have had some criminal history. We have teen parents. We have a high percentage of special ed students. But these are all students who are looking for a second, third, and maybe a fourth chance. I can tell you one classic story of a young man. By the time he came to our school, this was the 7th school he had attended, and he graduated, and he did well afterwards. So you never know when the light bulb's going to go on.
Right. You're kind of like the last chance corral.
We are the school of last resort, as we say.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. But your kids, they don't fool around. I mean, they have to perform. Academically, right?
They're held to the same standard as any other high school student. They must pass Regents exams. They must get 44 credits as any other student would in the New York public school system. So it's not watered down. It's the same requirement. The only wrinkle we have that's different is that we also have an internship program. We have close to 70 internship sites so that our students work and go to school at the same time.
So they have to work. I'm not so sure I'd call that a wrinkle. I think that's a blessing.
It probably is. What we do is the students that first enter the school in our 9th and 10th grade is located in the Bronx. For the first 6 months, it's full-time school, just so they get acclimated. Because if they've been roaming around prior to coming to us, we don't want to let them out right away with that much freedom. Right. So after that, they earn their internship, and then from there on out, as long as they're with us, they're on an internship.
And they have to perform at school, and they have to perform at work.
And they have to perform at work. And we tie the two together by having students write journals and do assignments around work, stressing literacy so that we're making sure they're not missing too much of anything school-wise.
And what's the history of your students?
How
many?
Over 60% will be accepted to and go to college, and probably more would go, but financially it's not feasible for so many of them. We make sure that a student either goes to college or goes to work, or in some cases students really opt for the military to get away, and that's fine. 75% of our students who come through the program will graduate.
How about that? Yeah. That's higher than traditional schools?
It's higher than traditional schools.
Right. Okay. Look, I have to ask the question, you have a very at-risk population.
We have...
So what do you do to make these kids perform?
I think it's like business. It's like a business. It's like any place that's successful. You're only as good as the people that you're working with, and you're only as good as a staff. And you have to have people who buy into tough love and buy into not allowing even the slightest infractions to go unnoticed. That we're there to provide the discipline that young people need, both academically.
And your kids come from very fragmented families, too.
Most probably come from single-parent homes.
Right.
And many of them are about, just above the poverty level, if they're not.
You know, I have to say, I visited Ron's school, and I couldn't help but, for one thing, I didn't know what to expect, Ron. I felt very safe. I didn't see any hats. I didn't see any slouch behavior. The halls weren't chaotic. There were no metal detectors. Yeah. It's amazing.
And they kept their pants up, I hope.
And I was going to say, I didn't see any plumber's backside. Right. I went into the, after I left you, I went into the restroom where some young girls were. It was good morning, hello, hello. I couldn't get over the calmness. Mm-hmm. It wasn't chaotic. In fact, as a matter of fact, it was far less chaotic than many traditional urban schools I've been in. Mm-hmm. How do you maintain that?
There is a nice culture, and ironically, I think the students help maintain that culture. You find that they really don't want to have the excitement and the tension, and they really appreciate that there's order and then that there's discipline.
They're getting what they don't have in their life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for many of them, this is the safest part of their life, actually, or even the safest part of their day. I mean, a lot of them tell us about the struggles of coming out of the tough neighborhoods, and a lot of them have to fight through the fact that there are, young people in the neighborhood who probably think they're crazy for going to school, and why are you wasting your time?
Exactly. So, it's a rebuttal to the hood culture.
Yeah. Years ago, I had a young man that used to sneak out early in the morning because he couldn't let the young people in his neighborhood see him go because they would try to beat him up. And this was an amazing story. He used to sneak out early.
So I saw art in your halls, poetry, essays. No Child Left Behind. I mean, you're living it.
Yeah. We, as I've told many people, the difficulty with that is that we kind of get caught in the No Child Left Behind legislation because our students are not with us from the beginning of their high school career, and we're held accountable for their time. So if a student comes into us in 2006 and they were supposed to have graduated in 2008, that's our responsibility. But, and so we're trying to get the state to understand this, and we think that hopefully in time that there will be a change in that, and that they will accept alternative assessments for schools like ours.
Even some of your kids even got Regents diplomas, right?
Yes, yeah. Last June we had one of our higher totals. We had 10, which was really, and we're going to do even better.
This business of getting your money's worth, that's why I wanted you on. It doesn't just start with the fact that indeed it costs less per pupil, but every kid you save is a kid that has a very good chance of not going on welfare or not ending up in the criminal justice system.
We did some studies on that, and it amazed me how much money we actually could save the state in the long term. The other factor is there was a number that came out that totally staggered me. The difference between having a high school, even just a high school diploma, and not having a high school diploma in terms of future earnings it's incredible. And we think a high school diploma, but there's such a drastic difference between not and having it.
Right. And the other thing is the legacy. I mean, these kids that have an education and realize the value of it, they become better parents themselves. I mean, it stops that mentality.
Yeah, I think what it does is it makes a young person see that the real world is possible for them. I think a lot of young people, particularly our young teenagers, they don't know if they fit in or where they fit in. And that's where the internship plays such an important role, because they will go to an internship site and say, I can do this, I belong here. And then they get a work ethic, which they'll pass on to their children. And in many cases, our students are the first person in their family to graduate from high school.
High school, yeah. So, but you spend a lot of time on character building. Is that character building, is that something that happens along the way, or is there a concentrated curriculum for character building?
I think it's more, as you noticed in the ladies' room, there are the parents that many parents may be struggling, whatever. There are some standards even the parents set about behavior, and that little sophistication of saying, excuse me. Now, of course, if we don't see it, those are the little things that build character. Saying, excuse me, watching your language, no hats, watching how you treat people. And it's everybody's job to do that. You don't say it's the counselor's job. If a teacher hears someone saying, cursing or saying something they shouldn't say, it's everybody's job. So as I said earlier today, they're in a fishbowl. And if people, just be consistent and understand that this will build character, the young people will adjust and grow.
You have what, 500 some odd kids?
500.
Yeah. Okay, and And those kids stay. Those kids, it's pretty mobile. Every year you can have about 5.
Yeah, it's 475 to 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a drop in the bucket of these at-risk urban school kids, right? How come other people aren't doing what you do? How come the school system, the public school system, which is funded with taxpayers' money, they're not doing what you're doing? Surely you can't be that there's only one Ron Tabano. Is there?
I think
maybe there is.
No, but there are. The city has made attempts, and they do have other transfer schools. And I have to say, the city is firmly behind the charter school movement. Are there schools exactly like ours? No. And is there a need maybe for more schools maybe like ours with that tough population? Probably. But the city has made attempts to create these transfer schools. But again, we remain a little bit more unique than those transfer schools.
So the staff that you have, the teachers, are they so special? Are they just special human beings, Ron?
I think they're very special. Yeah, they give up. I'll tell you how special they are. When it comes time just before the Regents exams, I don't know a teacher who doesn't give up their lunch, who doesn't stay late. And we're 9 to 5, so we're talking about teachers staying until 7 o'clock.
Right.
Maybe even later. And the time that they give
they don't put in for extra money or time off or any of that stuff?
No. There's an understanding that if we're going to succeed, it's about everybody, a little extra. If you're just going to stick to the work rules, you're not going to accomplish what we need to accomplish here.
Right. Yeah. Well, I tell you, folks must go home every day with a great deal of ego gratification.
I know they go home tired.
Right.
No, but where the ego gratification really comes in, and this is where we're lucky. So many of our students come back to us. And every day there's a graduate coming back. And as I mentioned to you the other day, one of the students that came back recently is now 35. And I'm saying, oh my God, 35
I was here,
years old.
Right.
And the stories that they tell, and I'll tell you one really good story. We had a young man who was with us, and he had to go to Virginia because he got into a shooting with a gang, and he almost got shot. He was in the rival gang. So his mother shipped him to Virginia. Well, I got a call from him one day and he said, can I come back? I said, well, that's up to your mom. If you come back up to New York and your mom says it's okay, then it's fine with me. You can come back to the school. Well, he comes back. He graduates, goes into the military. He's a sergeant now. And we don't see him for a while. We know he's in Afghanistan. We hear, and he's all over the place. So he comes back from Afghanistan, and then he comes to visit. And he says, I have to tell you something funny. I said, what was that? He says, I was in a cave, right? And this was right after 9/11. He says, I was in a cave. We were on a hunt for bin Laden, he says, and we were being fired at. He said, and I'm saying to myself, well, I went to Wildcat and left because I was being fired at, went back and graduated, and now they're firing at me again.
Right.
So I said, it's things like that. And when the staff and people hear that,
right.
It can't help you.
You can't help it be.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I had a very good visit at your school, and I thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you.
Really
thank you. My pleasure.
I'm Judith West. You're watching Ron Tabano, Wildcat Academy School, a place to go for a gusher, or a diploma, right?
Diploma,
a diploma. Thanks for watching.